So Arthur, you were actually at the Limerick game yesterday, basking in the sunshine.
Oh yeah, I got burned.
How are you going to keep a lid on the hype now? Or are you just going to lean into it and go, you know what? Screw that. We're actually, this is the bit where we claim the status as the greatest team of all time. With John Myler on last week, I still think Kilkenny, but actually, you know what? There are other things. There are things bigger than this year's title.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's they were astonishing. They were astonishing. I think it's the one thing we can kind of take for granted is that at their best, nobody can live with them. Like that's if they play to anywhere close to that potential, nobody can live with them. It's like they made a Cork team that's been kind of free scoring now for a few months. Look, hapless, you know. They had 9 points at half time, is that right? Was it that far? Something like that? Like, you know, it was an astonishing performance in the first half. Kind of, you can't say irrespective of the opponent, but like, especially in the stakes and everything that's kind of in the build up to it, everything else, to have that match won at half time, it was off the charts. They were unbelievable.
Incredible to see two heavyweights go at it. And nobody was predicting, whatever way you were falling on the prediction, it was a point or two either way. There was nothing in it. You know, and like even in terms of the All-Ireland conversation, plenty going for Cork. But astonishing to see all that go up in smoke immediately, like crushing them into the ground. To the point where Cork fans, 15, 20 minutes to go, are streaming, is that too you were there? It was streaming too?
Can't be leaving.
They were definitely leaving in their droves.
You got to sit it out.
Is leaving in their droves slightly less than streaming?
It was after the Galan goal, the second one, the penalty.
I think that's a harsh penalty in retrospect. I think that
it was a strange one to see given the circumstances.
You can't be wrapping a player like that.
No, it was probably fine.
Also, you do know that the forward also has like the back of the jersey somewhere along the way. There's a handful of
the eagle-eyed umpires were there, Ger. They were all over it.
It's but look, I don't know if I wouldn't begrudge them that. I'd say a lot of fans would have done the same. But
really.
Like it was done. Do you know what I mean?
Would you have done that if it was the other way around?
Ooh, good question. And my bus was later on. Didn't want to make a difference. Like I may as well have stayed where I was. But you could, like, it was so demoralising for them. Like it's hard to kind of like there was such an enormous Cork contingent there yesterday. I'd say it outnumbered Limerick. I think at a guess.
Peter O'Mahony has been banging on about how bad the road is between the two as well. So you know.
But they were shell shocked. Like just talking to people around, because it's funny, I was surrounded by Cork people, but they were shell shocked. It was just like, what's going on? What's happening here? Like it was like something. As you're saying, like it was funny enough in the week as well. I was kind of looking at the odds. I think it was more or less. I think it was more or less evens either way. Like it was 50-50, and you're looking at the odds for the fanciful things of like 15 plus point victory. It's just like name whatever you want. It's like whatever you fancy. So it was completely out of the blue.
Yeah, and it said that like there was the statement aspect to the sort of Armagh Galway game, and there was a statement aspect. Sorry, the Galway Dublin game, and there was a statement aspect. Like there was, and
do you need to make a statement with 5 All-Irelands?
Well, it was a statement fixture.
Well,
it was. Yeah.
So I think it's a signature win.
Yeah,
right? It's like when we look back on the great performances. There's that second half performance against Tip. There's the All-Ireland final where they're perfect against Cork. There's this one, and there's probably a few others if you were to. But like that was so out there, like. Did we totally overrate Cork? Is that what happened? We're gonna spend a good bit more time on this a little bit later on. So I don't want to. It's going to be in the performance rankings, and we're going to do hurling. So maybe we can come back to this. But did we overrate Cork? Like Cork have this in them, right?
Well, look,
Cork aren't that bad.
No. But I didn't think
their full back line against Clare not great. Clare turns out this year not very good.
Patrick Horgan, how many 4 frees he missed?
4 frees he missed.
Scatter of other wides. Like Robert Downey was brought off at half time. I don't know, was he injured or what? Was he tactical? Like,
I just thought those days were kind of done for them for the time being. I didn't think they could be beaten this badly. And if you look at it the other way around and even look back, think I'm open to corrections, but I don't think even in Championship hurling that Limerick were ever beaten that badly, you know. And it's not like they've been perfect for all the time they're there. I just didn't think that could happen to them again for Cork. I didn't think that was. I thought they had enough of a kind of a base there that it's like, well, we might lose, but we're never going to get hammered.
Yeah. It's
Like the one dynamic that I'll say will change has changed completely from last year, and if we're basing an awful lot last year, is that now when you have Hayes in at 6, Dan Morrissey behind him, and it was Finn and Casey either side, it's like Cork could do nothing. They could not get in at them. And then when you have the likes of Burns coming back and Nash coming back, it was just, that's completely different from last year, because it was Hannon, who, still hasn't, I think, seen a minute of championship hurling or league hurling. So that's the big change. You almost all of a sudden have, I mean, arguably the best hurler in the country, or one of them, in Kyle Hayes, in such a prominent position, and he's just doing unfold damage.
Flicks
yesterday. He's 26 and he's kind of entering his prime. Like,
see Casey coming off at about 4 minutes to go, because a lot of it obviously was about the bitterness about, like, this isn't a conversation. Why are Cork being fancied for this thing? We're clearly the best team in the country. Casey comes off at about 3 or 4 minutes to go, and he's got a giant sort of fist pump. It was like a real statement of,
they were up for it.
We came here to show you what this is all about. Amazing, really.
And here's the thing: they get to do it all again, more than likely.
Probably 3 weeks' time, yeah.
More than likely, if Cork beat Waterford, their prize is, yes, we get to go and get battered again by Limerick. Hooray!
That'll be the case for Cork. Like, they're just anybody predicting after that now anything other than a Limerick.
I suppose the case is that, like, Galan was clearly on it, right? But if there isn't a slip and you actually keep Galan out and you don't concede the goal straight away, and Patrick Horgan scores his chance, all of a sudden it's a tighter game. If immediately after the penalty they don't,
so they only
immediately
lose
after
by
their goal,
12 to 14.
But look, I think the case is Limerick are going to be 8 to 12 point favourites for that game.
Yeah,
Limerick put up 24 points in the first half, which is kind of unheard of. Yeah. It's not, you can't do that every day. So there was a perfect storm to it. But it's just kind of,
And maybe Limerick had a man sent off early in the first half or something, and
like Limerick would need to step back 15-20%. Even if Cork went up 10%, Limerick still win it.
Kind of, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. It's still kind of, I do think it's a weird sort of sport where, in the greatest terms, things that you do kind of have to take every game on its merits, that things do change, that there are kind of like Limerick.
Giles over the corner.
But I'm just saying, like, Limerick at the minute, it was literally the perfect storm. They were missing nobody. They had an unbelievably stacked bench. Like, when you're taking off Tom Morrissey to bring in Colin O'Neill, and you're taking off Shane O'Brien to bring in Seamus Flanagan, and you're bringing on who else came in? Peter Casey came in. I don't know, was it for David Reedy? You're like, that's like, they start for most teams in the country, no question. And
the other thing is that they're all playing well.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned Cian Lynch properly. So you were concerned that the injuries were taking their toll on Cian Lynch over the last couple of seasons, and that maybe his best days were behind him. That is inarguably not true. Like, he was absolutely sensational yesterday. So if you have full beast mode Cian Lynch, and you have still cresting his peak in Kyle Hayes and everybody, and Nicky Quaid, who wasn't supposed to play second.
Yeah.
Like, his puck outs were great. There's an important save in the first half. Now, in fairness, it was a bad shot. I'm sure Patrick Horgan would want it back, but it didn't matter.
I'm sorry, but then you introduce someone as well now, like Adam English, who I'd say is nailed on for Young Hurler of the Year, depending on how deep Limerick go. And he's just a regular starter now, and he's pushed Darragh O'Donovan out of the team, like, and he's coming up with goals from midfield. It's the second goal in the thing.
We will come back to this because we need to get it. So Dublin and Galway are going to battle it out to see who joined Kilkenny in this year's Leinster hurling final. Dublin obviously beaten by Kilkenny yesterday. Wexford's season is over in that one. In terms of the situation in Munster, Waterford's hopes of progressing from the round robin for the first time will come down to a final round trip to Cork. They'll need to go to Páirc Uí Chaoimh and win there. Obviously Clare, the reigning All-Ireland champions, are out, so their game against Limerick won't actually matter. And then there's a 2-week break to the Munster final. Limerick are guaranteed to be in that. They are guaranteed.
Not quite. No. Well, I think more or less. I mean, I don't know all the variables, but I don't think it's a guarantee. No, it's not.
If they were to get hammered by Clare,
it would probably require a bit of a.
And Cork would need to hammer Waterford, right? Because it would come down to scoring difference. It'd all be on 5 points.
Possibly, yeah. Maybe it's. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously Scotty Scheffler won overnight. John Ram pushed him for about 10, 12, 13 holes. And then John Ram had a meltdown at the end. I was wondering, would it be better for golf if John Ram won and they just made peace?
Well,
So we want to see the best golfers playing against each other. Sorry, this is also performance rankings.
Yeah, just get into it.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Off the ball breakfast is with UPMC, orthopedic care. When things don't move, rotate or bend like they used to, choose us to help you get back in action. We'll talk everything now. Performance rankings.
The good,
Is it acceptable hard to say it was the performance so far of the World Cup? Maybe not.
the bad,
I'm scratching my head. The performances was just lacked that intensity.
and the amber.
Off the balls, performance rankings.
Yeah. So we're going to start where we started.
Well, Limerick are in the green.
We can put Limerick in the green.
Yeah, we've already done this, have we? Is there anything else we haven't said yet?
I don't know. It'll be interesting what happens next
Sorry,
week.
Galan. Galan was the goal was amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but sorry, totally, absolutely was. But there should not have been a but there at all. There was the slip. So the ball from the Keane Lynch. There's so much to get into here, but Keane Lynch, and you've touched on it there. Like, I don't know, is it like some sort of Paul Scholes? I know there's been better players than him, soccer players than him, mentioned in reference to Keane Lynch over the last 24 hours and beyond. But Paul Scholes and Zidane and whoever else you want to put in the mix, like that quality of vision and execution, and like even the quality of the passing, it's like these 90-degree passes straight into the, like, you'd like to put him on one of those little target games and see can he, put the ball through like a circumference just the size of the ball. It's incredible. His vision outside of anything apart from the execution is just off the charts. But that ball that goes in, and it's a fraction from going out over the line. It's a brilliant ball.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a fraction from going out. And Galan takes it. And even his turn to get past the Cork cornerback, number 2, like it was a little bit laboured, and the Cork player slips and he comes back inside. The second Cork defender, though, why is he not showing him the line? Like, he shows him back inside into the expanse of the pitch, and Galan's eyes light up. He's bouncing the ball off the ground, and they still had work to do, but it did feel like at that point, and that was very early in the game.
It was a total defensive systems malfunction from Cork, which you have to expect won't happen again the next time. Like, you can't, you definitely, they will do something better the next time. But look, we've 3 weeks to think about that.
Well, yeah, that's the interesting thing. But what was striking was how, like, Limerick had their mind set on goals there. They were constantly putting it in on top of Shane O'Brien and Galan. Like, it was relentless in terms of just get it out, still, bounce, in on top of them again. That diag across every single which way. Whereas normally, I suppose, they would have tried just outscoring with just keep taking points.
They were happy with 26 points, 30 points, and think, well, you're not going to do that. But they obviously realised that Cork do have a goal threat, which completely disappeared yesterday. So, all right, let's move on. Limerick Hurlers, 100% of the green. Cork are definitely in the red if we had them. Like, is the All-Ireland in the red? Like, is there a case that it's all over? It's just
I think it is. It's
coronation?
like,
I mean, obviously, you're a Limerick fan, right?
Yeah,
so you will be very reluctant to... But the rest of us are going at this going, I mean, who is going to give them a game? It's Kilkenny. That's all that's left.
No, look, all things being equal, the red there's still a very real... I still think, like, it's
Tip.
funny, like next
Sorry,
week...
Tip, we haven't seen Tip, the new Tip, and I know you're a sceptic on Tip until the risen Lord is standing over you, sticking his fingers in your face going, ha ha ha, screw you.
like the Cork fans.
Yeah.
Leaving.
Yeah, who knows? But I don't think Cork are gone. I still think next weekend they'll beat Waterford, and then they have.
But that won't be a representation that they're back.
No,
it won't be that they're back, but it does mean they'll have gear up and they'll have to play Limerick again.
Yeah.
Same venue.
Kylie talked
is it the
afterwards.
same? It's not Thurles.
No, it's in Limerick.
All right.
They have a home and away thing.
Okay. Tipperary Hurlers. They're back, baby.
Yeah, Tipper, I suppose, also in the green. No shadow of doubt. Out of Munster, guaranteed. I think. So they've done all their games. They've played. They got their 5 points. They're guaranteed third spot, which they'll probably end up going through. I don't think a Munster finals on the cards unless Waterford beat Cork, which is unlikely and would obviously knock Cork out.
I mean, it's not impossible that Cork actually have this horrific hangover from being disemboweled ritually in front of everybody.
Well, look, what I would say about Cork is that in at least of this recent team, that when in the last year and this, when their backs have been against the wall and it's do or die, they have generally they've delivered. The problem has been the other side, where it's almost between the All-Ireland final, between like they make their lives a lot easier if they win yesterday. It means they have the last day off. They can do everything else. They can gear up for the final. Now it's a case of, right, we've another now critical game we have to play. Maybe that suits them. Who knows? But I still think it's the same thing happened in the final last year. Even the same thing the first day out against Clare. It's preposterous that they were 15 points clear, 12 points clear, and contrived to almost lose the game to a Clare team that are gone with a game to play. Like there's some problems there, obviously, but Tip are true, and Tip did. I mean, bar that kind of, it's hard now to look at the game against Cork, down to 14 men for the whole thing, hammered, and they've done extremely well to bounce back from that.
Yeah, with 15 men, they've been pretty good.
Yeah, so like it's hard to know. Like Waterford didn't get to see it, unfortunately, but they seemed to beat Waterford pretty comfortably yesterday. Who knows?
Darren McCarthy scored 11 out of 12 frees, I think.
Yeah,
Returned, so
they'll probably go through in third, which means they'll end up realistically playing in a quarter final, the beaten Leinster finalist, I think it will be, who they'll probably beat. So you're probably looking at them in a Munster.
It's a big game, right? It will be Dublin or Galway.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think what'll end up probably happening is you'll have Tipperary in an All-Ireland semi-final against the winner of Munster.
Limerick
or Cork, whatever happens to there.
Yeah.
So that's probably, I think that's probably
neither of those
happens.
teams would suit them.
No, I like, it's very hard to know. I still think Cork and Limerick are better than Tip, but I'm not. I'm open to correction on that. Like if they've got through, so it's hard to be too down on them. Like, but
which camp would you rather be in this morning, Tipperary or Cork?
Oh, still Cork.
Really?
Ah, yeah. Jesus.
After that?
Ah, yeah.
Well, Cork are a bit of a bet noir, obviously, for Tipperary. So, I mean, there is that if those two ever end up meeting. But listen, there's more evidence than just the Waterford game for Tipperary, but equally, it's Waterford. Realistically, they're not in anybody's conversation about it.
No, they're not. And they were very comfortably beaten by Limerick. They were comfortably beaten by Tip. And to be fair, they had a good result against Clare, but it's hard to know what that's worth this year. So look, but I still think they've probably had a positive enough year.
Waterford did beat Cork last year when they were...
Yeah, and then that kind of precipitated that Cork changes, didn't it?
Yeah.
So who knows? Look, who knows? Like the fact of the matter is they'll go into that game on Sunday with absolutely nothing to lose. Nobody will fancy them. And it's kind of up to themselves.
Clare.
Yeah, well, Clare, yeah. It's like I think it's the same thing. It's like it's almost the counterpoint to what we're saying with Limerick, where Limerick have an absolute full deck to play from. Clare were stripped of all their best players, so like what do you expect? It's very hard to be kind of too upset about it. Not too upset, sorry, too judgmental about it. It's kind of right, well, if you're going to lose all those players and you don't have that deep a thing anyway, you kind of need them all.
It's just the fact that the All-Ireland champions, it was threadbare anyway, but severed.
It's a shame. But it's like almost from a neutral point of view, like a sort of slightly biased point of view or whatever. It's just a shame you don't get to see, like, it's not even the hurler of the year plays 20 minutes in the following year's championship. You know, it's a shame. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. And like, I really, there is a depth, it seems, or a massive difference between Leinster and Munster at the moment. It kind of feels like we're missing opportunities here. But anyway, let's move on.
Sorry, yes. So it should be next up on the screen, I believe, talking about Leinster hurling.
We are talking about Leinster hurling. It's Davy
Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Beaten, I didn't even check the thing. Was it 6? Let me check the score here. They've lost again, 6-27 to 114 against Galway, albeit they were down to 14 men, Antrim. But
it's a second game in a row to get a red card. You know,
27.
Losing one child is unfortunate. Losing two, carelessness.
Jeez.
Whatever the Oscar Wilde thing is.
So look, we're not going to delve too long on the match itself, but we do have, we have a transcript of Davy's comments post-match. He was not extremely pleased with every element of it. So there's Darren McCluskey? Declan McCluskey sent off. And he was speaking to RTE afterwards. Once the man was sent off, it was over. Our issue with the sending off, and we wouldn't have won, by the way, but he got a punch in the stomach before that. Nothing was done. The way one of our players was treated by the officials is something we're going to have to go to Croke Park and talk about. We're not happy with that. Would it have made a difference? No way. We weren't near Galway's class today, but there's certain things the GA we have to look at, and that's it. So now...
Yeah. I have to admit I didn't see the incident, but like obviously it's a trouncing.
Well, on that point, he brought up Johnny Murphy, the match linesman.
It was Johnny Murphy that's seen it, and Johnny Murphy now wouldn't have any time for me anyway. That's out there. Everybody knows that himself and one or two more of them, they actually despise me, and that's fine. I can get over that. But you don't take it out on the players. You have to see everything. I don't know if you can be saying this. Well, I understand that in the heat of the moment, you're very upset, but accusing one of the officials of actively despising you and then therefore acting out on that to do you down is the type of thing that should actually end up with a suspension. It's the type of thing that like you can't really be abusing or accusing someone of doing that, because the implication is that they are vindictively going out to get you and taking it out on the players, which is actually a proxy for you. That's how I would read that. And that's the type of thing that you should be suspended for, because you actually can't start calling the fairness of the linesman and the referees into question in the aftermath of a game. It's just like, that's a line. I think that's a line that you can't cross.
You can't, but he's done it repeatedly.
I'd say as misguided as it is, it's just the typical thing where a manager's coming out, his team are after getting trounced, and he wants to be talking about something else.
Yeah, but possibly, but it's the hypocrisy on his behalf. Like, no better man to come out and talk about being talked about himself and the horrible things that I don't doubt it, that have been said about him and to him and everything else. And repeatedly, I know of interviews where he's talked about that and of the need for respect and compassion and everything else. But he is a fiend for this. He regularly does this. You can go back, there's so many times over the years where he has singled out, and not even necessarily in words, in actions, in terms of last year, wasn't it the Waterford-Clare game, and were they beaten by Clare at the very end? Clare, I think, got a 65 or something at the very end to win the game when he was over Waterford. And I forget who the referee was in the day, but he marches straight out onto the pitch to confront him there and then. And you're just like, it's such a regular pattern now that it's like you see this and it's not even surprising. But it's your sense, your point about it should be result in suspension. He won't. Nothing will happen of it. Or if it will, it'll just kind of be inconsequential, because the rest of the year's done now. It makes no difference. They're going to get relegated and that's it.
Well, they might not. There's obviously a playoff. It's all going to come down to one game, and who knows what will happen.
But it's just...
It's not unique, unfortunately, is the thing. Like, it's not unique to him. He might be one of the sort of most egregious purveyors of it.
Well, certainly the most high profile, yeah. He's certainly the most high profile person to do it with this regularity. And even just, again, like they despise me, and that's fine. It's like, what? But it's such reckless language.
I think it's a big part of his management style. Like, everybody hates us and we don't care. And like, that's his, we'll get everybody bought in because...
Everyone hates Antrim.
No, but yeah, listen. Yeah, but I can easily see internally where the small guy, you know...
Yeah.
There are all these big decisions, which is what he's saying. The big decisions go with the big team. You didn't see when the big team hit the small fella, the big fella hit the small fella. You just saw the retaliation. Why didn't you take any action?
So in that instance, you do actually have some moral authority, but you lose it when you start saying that the reason that it was called to his attention was because...
Absolutely.
Because they despise me. The other incident is obviously Peter Keane. So I don't know if Clare are ready for Broadway just yet, but they are in Sam Maguire because of the nonsense that the provincial championships beaten finalist automatically qualifies. Are they the 16th best team in the country at the moment? It doesn't look like it, right? And they were absolutely annihilated by Down. You had a great stat about Down.
Sorry, well, yeah, no. And again, I don't know the breakdown of the 2 pointers, whatever, but Down outscored Limerick yesterday. They defeated Clare footballers 327 to 117.
It's pretty impressive.
In front of 1,500 people in Ennis.
That is their first defeat in Ennis under Peter Keane, I think. But he was being interviewed by Pádraig McMahon of the Clare Echo. A very disappointing outcome. What are your thoughts? Absolutely disappointing. We never got to the pitch of the game particularly well. Couldn't get to the pitch of it, and then scores start going away from you, and you're scratching all the time then. That's the second game in a row where we've started poorly. Is there anything you can put your finger on for this? The Kerry game start was very poor. Yeah, putting your finger on it. Can we improve on it? We'll go back Wednesday night and see what we can do. Pádraig McMahon asks again, talking about improvement, do you feel Clare are going backwards under your watch? We could have ran down Sorry, we would have run down to 11 points last year. It's a 17-point defeat today. I suppose, Porrick, that is maybe an angle you've been coming at for a while. Just watching what you've been saying, I wouldn't agree with you, but that is the way you think about it. In what regard? And then Peter Keane, I'll tell you one thing, it's all start out and then walks away. And then following this, Keane later returned and asked if the microphones were turned off before telling the writer, do you know what? You're nothing but a C.
Right, there's no room for that, I have to say.
Very intense.
But, sorry, there's no room for that. That's totally unacceptable. You should never, that never happen. Full stop. But, Clare have been going along just nicely. Down seemed to be a bit of a bet noir for them because they hammered them in the league as well. But, Clare were within a whisker of getting promoted from Division 3. They'd wins over Sligo. They beat Offaly. They beat Wicklow really well. They beat Limerick very well. Antrim, listen, none of these are powerhouses. And that big sort of defeat to Down, who ended up themselves getting to within whisker winning the league, Division 3. It's not the worst season. Not the worst season in the world by any stretch of the imagination. Listen, yesterday was hockeying, and there's no getting away from that. But, I can understand where he's coming from. He's getting a bit spiky about the idea of going backwards when they've been actually going along just fine.
Angry managers in the red this morning.
Do you agree with the general... is asking if the microphone is off?
This is off the record.
Is it?
I mean, no, because it's not. You're speaking to a journalist who's also taking.
Yeah. Look, it's interesting. I'd be very.
I presume that was his inference, by the way. The microphone being off is an inference for nobody's going to talk about this, right?
I would have assumed so.
But again, so that's not a charter for bad behaviour, though. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
No, it's not. Jeez, it's a terrible thing to call anyone. But it does strike me as a strange one.
How often have you been called it?
In that kind of thing, probably not too often. I'm all right. I don't really know.
Irish people can use that word in a very endearing sense.
Free and easy.
I suspect, by the way, that was not what was going on.
We
did
an interview with a prominent sports journalist one time. He was very unhappy with rang me up and was shouting down the phone. Yeah, that was the only time it's ever happened to me. I was like, whoa.
I think I recall that.
It was like a whoa. So,
Yeah, I don't know. It's tensions are high. There's a lot kind of jobs on the line.
Yeah,
but I do think there's a distinction between that and between what Davy Fitzgerald says. The fact of the matter is that that's decided to be publicised. They've opted to put that out there.
That one's brewing along. He's reading the stuff that your man is writing.
Yeah,
it's a local affair. Not happy. You're on the end of an absolute thumping, and your man is stood in front of you, and it shouldn't happen.
Okay, they're all in the red. We have to do Mayo, right? Are Mayo somehow escaping this, or are Cavan in the green? Is it it's a positive? But hang on a second, Mayo.
We don't have Mayo on our list, though.
We don't have Mayo on our list.
No, we don't.
That is mad. The Mayo,
but it was a numbers thing. We went with Dublin instead.
What are the Mayo fans saying this morning?
I think it'll probably be the end of Kevin McStay, unfortunately.
Yeah, Kevin McStay seems like a lovely fella, right?
Well, we'll see. Don't be writing them off, lads.
I'm writing them off. They ain't coming back from
naive territory when you're, have any sort of casual observation of Mayo over the last number of years. This is exactly the time where they come back and shove it down everybody's neck. You're all a crowd of teas. Who knows? But it is as much to do with Cavan been very good. I did make the point, will point out, that when everybody was talking about the other group of deaths, that remember all the chat before the Connacht final? You're better off to lose the Connacht final because
it is a better group. Though.
I think that's arguable, and I think proven now. Listen, sorry, Dublin beating Galway is a slight sort of flying the ointment of my point here.
Yeah.
But equally, Cavan have been very good. You watch the quality of some of the scores yesterday. Cormac O'Reilly, Cian Madden, Oisin Kiernan, brilliant 2-pointer with about 15 minutes to go, gets them 3-4 points ahead. Cavan were 117 to 12 points up before they get into garbage time at the end of the game.
Yeah, and that's a hammering.
They put a bit of a glass in the score at the end. They get a goal, they tag over a couple of points.
Mayo in the red.
Well, Dublin firmly in the green.
Does this does what happened suddenly? Great scenes at the end of the Connacht final, and everybody obviously clearly wanted to win the game, but both sides then go out subsequently and lose. Was the quality on display way lower than we thought, or are they just totally irrelevant and they're just different competitions?
I think the caveat is that Dublin are better than everybody thought they were.
Yeah.
Well, Dublin are a different team with the injuries clearing up.
So, like, I think Galway are ultimately going to be some version of fine.
Yeah.
Like, even though I might have said Mayo are not fully gone yet, you would have bigger question marks about them.
Mayo are
like,
gone.
They've Tyrone
Write them
in
off.
2 weeks' time. I don't know, is that a home game? Or,
No, they're home
sorry,
game.
it won't
Done.
be if it's done.
Yeah.
Well, they're probably delighted.
They're in Oma, I think. They're in
Oma, and then the last game
Donegal
is neutral.
Neutral.
So where would that be, Clonus?
Like, realistically, they're going to have to beat Tyrone.
Sligo?
Yeah, but who knows? No,
And they
Sligo's
could.
pitch isn't in use, unfortunately. But it'll depend. Like, Donegal could be through.
I don't think they want to be hanging on for that. I think if they're hanging on for that game,
That's a good point. Donegal could be through and might rest up.
You wouldn't know, like,
Quarter-final, Limerick quarter-final.
but on the evidence yesterday, even like Donegal 75% are going to beat them. It was
you're the one making the case for them.
yeah. On the evidence, what we've seen. But I'm saying it is Mayo, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
standing by that.
I don't know how long you can trade on that, though. Like, I've seen them, oddly enough, I saw them against Sligo, where they were better. They were comfortably better than Sligo, but still let Sligo into it.
No, if they repeat what they did, what went on yesterday.
Sligo nearly lost to Leitrim. We also buried the lead on that. 61 minutes gone, Leitrim were ahead of them. What's going on?
It's a 70-minute game.
It is a 70-minute game, but come
By 4
on.
points.
Anyway,
2 wins from 2.
You wanted to talk specifically about the Dubs here.
Yeah. On a wider point, I don't remember a year, and I don't think it's necessarily strictly rules related, but I don't remember a year where I've enjoyed watching Gaelic football as much at that level. The top level, to be fair. I'm not watching too much of Tailteann Cup beyond Sligo, but it's such a good sport, and I don't know is it a case because it's a bit of a, again, use that phrase, but a perfect storm again, where like there's a great mix of all very good teams. Maybe some of them become great teams, whatever, but a good mix of very good teams. The rules make it more attractive just in terms of how quick it is. A lot of scoring, a lot of great scores as well. And it's just that game on Saturday night just felt unmissable, and then it delivered. It was brilliant, and Dublin were fantastic, and everything that kind of people were questioning after the Meath thing, which I don't think you can necessarily write off and say, all those problems are solved. But like, you see Cluxton, it's like all of a sudden it's like, it's Stephen Cluxton. It's like, it's not a guy who's looked aging and incapable of playing in this new thing. It's like, no, he's fine. He's still got something to offer. And then you see like Con, who's been playing relentlessly between club into county since last year, and he ends up pulling up. You'd hope he's not badly hurt, or they're probably in a bit of bother. But between Kieran Kilkenny, good God, it's like it was the closest you kind of seen in a long time to seeing them like the team of old, or that team of a few years ago, where it was like it's level, it's coming down to the last play of the game. Galway have just scored, and Cluxton has the ball on the tee. And it's like, right, now with the thing, it's going to be the last play of the game. Nails the kick out. They work it around a bit. Pop over a point, game over. And it was just like, what else would happen? It was vintage Dublin. Who knows if that's a one-off or if that's kind of the start of their kind of comeback. But
Do you think they'll win the All-Ireland?
It's hard to know. I wouldn't confidently predict anyone at the minute.
It wouldn't be mad if it was a Dublin Kerry final after all of the revolution. It's like we go through all this, and then at the end it's like Dublin versus Kerry, which could very easily happen at this point. I'd be worried about Con's injury. I just there's footage of it there. Like, it looks like a ligament extension.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
And the turnaround time is so short. There's no chance of them winning the All Ireland without Con. Like, I'm not saying they're a one-man team, but if we're talking about the inches that it's going to take to get past Donegal or Armagh or Kerry, then they're going to need Con. So
he would, and he was sensational.
The patience that you just glossed over there, Arthur, with like the they knocked it around a bit and then they slung it over the bar. Like, I mean, the patience was with the art form that Cluxton has made out of that kick out, that sort of stroke that he gives it. Again, we mentioned Cian Lynch, like it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
He's threading that within the eye of the needle, and they stroke it around like it's Cluxton, Howard, O'Dell, Costello, and into Lahif. And you're thinking, is he gonna? Is he? He's gonna, and over it goes. It's the buzzer has really added something unbelievable, hasn't it? Like, I mean, you talk about sort of the quality
to that scenario.
It's perfect. Like, you kick the ball, it goes wide, the game's done. You know, you got one shot to win it. Everybody knows, and you got to kill the clock as well.
What do you think will happen now? It'd be very funny if a draw was, say it was the last game and they only needed a draw.
So I'm not writing Galway after I left them off my list, but go on.
Ah, Jesus, no. But if there had been a draw, can Cluxton just kick that to touch, or is that?
Well, you'd be up to. I mean, technically you should. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like,
At
say
full time.
After the buzzer goes.
No, but say
you'd have to wait because the buzzer didn't go until the ball was out.
Say there's a 10-20 second gap. It's like, I'll tie my laces.
Well, I think at that point the referee's coming in and giving a free in.
Well, I don't think he can't give him free in, but he can.
Well, if he's time wasted,
he can stop the clock.
but he could say, I don't know.
So you stop the clock and you say, well, so you wasted time there, so we're going to play.
And normally they'd give you an extra 30 seconds even on top of that again, just to rub it into you.
Yeah, if he's bending down to tie his shoelaces to try and eke out the clock, then it's up to the referee to point his watch and say, right.
What if they only need a draw and Lahif has the ball and there's albeit a very slim chance that you could hit the post, but you can get a very clear kick into the stand.
I think, why not?
Or into the stand is fine.
Yeah.
Don't take on the score.
Is there, is it a glory game gone? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
get rid of it.
Well, or kick it wide. Kick it wide. Just maybe if you're having a shot, don't drop it short.
I know. It just goes against every instinct of a player not to take the shot on.
Well, it's just game management.
I know. Yeah.
yeah, I know.
And they're doing these scenarios. So anyway, the Dubs in the green, back as All-Ireland contenders, making everybody a little bit anxious. I don't think Kerry are being well served by not being in a hard group either. It's too easy for them. Like, they want the hard game. This like they've had the hard game against Cork in Munster, which was a bit of a surprise. But I think they actually want hard games to be tested. Anyway,
it's hard to know. Like,
it's not. They want to play Ulster. They'd love to be playing Cavan and Monaghan and a game against Donegal in the group stages. They would love that. Because then you know who's ready and fit for purpose when it comes to extra time against Armagh next year. All right. Anyway.
I don't
Ross
know.
is very disappointing. The jersey was the nicest. The Roscommon jersey was the nicest thing about that entire display. Thing of beauty.
What's next,
I don't know,
Arthur?
was it like a new jersey or did I just...
Damning with faint praise there. Here, O'Neill's. Up next, Irish golfers / PGA Championship. I don't know what you'd call it.
At nothing week.
A return to a sorry state of affairs for Irish interest. And as I think Phil in the office was saying, great weekend for the underdogs. You had Limerick winning, Dublin, Scotty Scheffler, all these boys, calendar Grand Slam, of that, it's gone.
Well,
yeah.
Man City. Obviously.
Man City, of course, yeah. Hollis, fair play to them. They'll come up later on. But I'll be honest with you, and it's probably a reflection of the fact that there was no Irish interest basically from day one. I didn't see a minute of it. I was gone out of the house all day yesterday, more or less. But it's just funny. It is funny how it can pass you by if you don't have that thing to grip on to. A very casual viewer, obviously.
You were hoping last night, I watched a good bit of it yesterday evening, like you were hoping last night that Scheffler would start off, come back to the pack a little bit, like whatever about the boringness of Scotty Scheffler's brilliance. You were just hoping like a couple of slip-ups, at least make a bit of a tournament out of it. And it's exactly what happened.
As a backer of Scotty Scheffler,
you were like,
I was like, did you just sort this out now and stop this? This is not good.
Ram had reeled him right in, and it was 10 o'clock last night, and Paul McGinley turns to the audience in one of those prophetic moments and he says, we are in for a feast of golf. And as the words fall out of his mouth, John Ram, with about a 15-putter, comes up just short, and I think there was one stroke between them at that point, and Scheffler nails his, and suddenly there's two in it, and suddenly it's 3, 4, 5, and John Ram is stomping around the back 5 or 6 holes in the way that Scotty Scheffler the previous day had torn up the Green Mile John Ram was been eaten up by it. It was it's worth watching back just to see somebody implode so badly. The head was gone. Like, this is not, normally you hear, well, listen, he wants to hang on to second. There's a big, payoff for all of that and like the professional instinct. But he had gone. He might as well have been missing the cut for all that was going on with him. It was an incredible thing. I know we're talking about the Irish golfers, but as he was going up to the first tee, McIlroy was sloping away out. He didn't speak to the media once all week.
That's not great, is it?
It's not a great look.
Seems like it's unnecessary. Just come and enjoy the fact that you're like, this is all gravy now.
Yeah, and it's not to tell him what he has to do, but there was a lot of Irish media out there too.
Yeah.
Who obviously, I don't know if necessarily they'd have all gone if not off the back of what had just happened and what could potentially happen. And obviously he's distraught, I suppose, with his own performance. But,
well,
there's a little bit where
there'll be fewer at the US Open.
There will, yeah.
Well, there was obviously the Lowry stuff. There was an excitement about him as well, and clearly you could be booking your ticket home. But there was the driver stuff. I mean, I can't claim to know the technicalities of all this, but like, he's got his driver in his bag, and officials say to him, "Let's have a quick gander at that," as apparently these things happen, just to make sure it's within regulation. And they discover it's not. And apparently these things happen all the time, and it's not to the fault of the player, but that overuse over a period of time might have thinned the club face. Apparently, that could be a thing for all I know, and maybe whatever. But this was enough to throw him off his stride, so to speak. And off his stride he went.
Conscious of the time, we'll put the Irish golfers in the red there.
Yeah.
Bad week all around. On to Saturday's FA Cup final.
Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace win their first major trophy.
Yeah, sensational.
Unbelievable. It was great. It was
Henderson, the villain of the piece. Pep Guardiola afterwards not shaking his hand. Come on, Pep. Have a bit of class.
Were you about to say you're better than that? Is that what you were about to say?
Come on, Pep. What are you doing? Like Man City, the wages of sin. What are the... Anyway, where do these charges come in? They were supposed to pick up a trophy. It was that Ferguson thing, was quoted all during the week. Just pick up something, keep it going. And now all of a sudden Haaland is recording finals. Not great. His record at Wembley, not great. They have two tricky games left. I mean, they don't really have tricky games left. You still expect everything to be fine. But imagine if they didn't qualify.
Certainly less fine. It's less fine than it looked for a while.
Yeah. I mean, they were home and hosed when they scored in the 95th minute against Villa 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was like, well, they can't lose from here.
Yeah.
And they can't lose. I mean, it would be absolutely unbelievable if they were to swoon further. But suddenly, they've got the World Club Cup on the horizon, and they will have loads of money to spend, obviously, because they're Man City, and they're very well run in terms of all that stuff. They just spent $250 million in the last transfer window, with no real effect on the team. I mean, they're slightly better now.
I was surprised even not to see, and I don't know, maybe people will tell me he's been taking them all the time, but I was surprised to see Haaland not take that penalty.
Yeah. They'll ultimately be fine, won't they? Like, they've Bournemouth, is it tomorrow night?
Fulham, isn't it?
And like, there is a crunch there. It's the only thing that's left watching in the Premier League worth watching.
There's a possibility that Man City will never have the same level of dominance in the Premier League that they had under what we've just lived through. There's a possibility they get back to that because they have so much money. But it's just hard to see who comes next and replaces Pep, and whether or not Pep still has the same ability to run football the way he has run it.
The evidence suggests that he doesn't. Like, he's become boring. He's almost like, just accepting that this is just the way things are, and I'm gonna stomp around the pitch afterwards. It's less endearing when you're not winning stuff. But equally, I didn't understand why Marmoush was taking that penalty.
No, and look, they will. Like, they'll still just go and spend whatever they spend, and no one else will be able to live with them in terms of. I think the problem will be they'll probably still be thereabouts while the other team might change. So I don't necessarily all due respect to Liverpool, like they just don't have that same spending power where you're like, they can go and do whatever the hell they want and keep to that pace. They could drop off next season by 10 points. Man City could easily improve by 15, 20. Maybe that's outrageous, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that it's just they've such a base, and then you have all these guys who are coming through.
They're 66 now, so they could easily.
Yeah,
and they have been 20 points ahead of where they are now. With 2 games, they've been 30 points ahead of where they are now.
So you've all...
But football keeps changing, keeps evolving. There's really smart people working on stuff. And Pep at the moment doesn't seem to have the competitive advantage that he had. And I don't know. I mean...
You're right, but if you look back at it, So they've had 3 managers since the money came in, wasn't it? Wasn't it Mancini, Pellegrini and Guardiola? And to all varying degrees, they've all won the league at least once. And to varying degrees of success. I would sincerely back them that they're probably better run now than ever. That if he goes, they identify who has a good chance of doing it next. I'd like maybe they don't come in with the same level of dominance, but
Glasner looks like a good coach, and they're already. We're fairly sure he's going to stay, is what Steve Parish is quoted as saying today. You're like, because at the start of the year, obviously he's such a brilliant end to last season, where he came in and basically won every game, and then the start of the year was a little bit. And there were people going, are they going to get rid of him? Are they going to sack him? And then they didn't, and he's obviously built a very good team. But you do think maybe you use this tiny little window you have now where some of the jobs are going to be available and your reputation is very high, because the likelihood is they sell Adam Wharton, likelihood is they sell Mark Guay and Eberechi Eze, and it's like, right, so we're going to be 12th to 16th again. Anyway, we got to go. We got
to fire this up. So Crystal Palace in the green.
Yeah.
No questions about it. We have Shelbourne in the red. Down now to 6th in the table, 7 points off. Shamrock Rovers atop, beaten by Bohemians 1-0 at the weekend. 1 win in 7. It's not going well. Retaining the league is going to be extremely difficult. So in the red for them, unfortunately. Okay. And then finally, in the green, Eve McMahon. First Irish sailor to medal at the ILCA World Championships in China over the weekend. Bronze medal. Already Ireland's youngest Olympian sailor. Incredible achievement. It's remarkable for her. And I remember pre-Paris Olympics, Annalise Murphy being in here talking about Eve McMahon, saying that she's the real deal. And that is bearing fruit. All right. On a question green. No yellow this week.
No
yellow.
No, well.
We have failed you. No amber. That's this week's performance rankings.
Off the balls, performance rankings.